Hello, hello, hello. So we are back. We are back at it with my daily drawing study, practice, yada yada. Hey there, Husky. Hey, Mostar. Back here with we keep doing this, man. Every day, man. Every day we're showing up. Every day we're showing up. We're doing our thing. We're practicing. So let's see what we've got offered to us today.
Ask, hey, Comfy, why are we talking about line weight in the boxes section? There was a whole section about lines. What gives? If you find yourself wondering the same thing, that's fair. But I promise, there's a good reason for this, and it comes down to how we primarily use line weight in this course. At its core, line weight refers to the difference in thickness between different lines.
Yeah, you've been getting stuff done, man.
Is described as having less weight than a thicker line. And this influences the way in which we process the visual information those lines describe. It also has an impact on composition, on how our eyes consume an image, and in what order we look at the different aspects of it. There's a great deal one can convey with lines.
All good, dude. All good.
What we focus on here relates to one concept.
Feeling it's going to be a good week, you know?
In 3D space. That's why we're exploring this here, in the boxes section. Prior to this, we were only looking at marks on a flat page, and it's only recently that we've explored the idea of depth in the scene. Looking at this drawing, we've got a square and a circle.
Hey, Militar.
Though these are flat, two-dimensional shapes, they can still be arranged in 3 dimensions, meaning one of these being closer to the viewer and the other being farther. This can be conveyed by simply having one block or occlude the other, but as you'll find throughout this course, we frequently draw everything in its entirety, even where it might be blocked from sight, because it helps us better understand how those forms sit in 3D space and how they relate to one another within it, given that it's the whole focus of this course. So, if we can't make use of occlusion to tell the viewer which object is in front of the other, we have to rely on other tools. One such tool is, as you might have guessed, line weight. When different lines intersect, there are a variety of ways in which the eye can interpret how they are intended to flow as they create the silhouette of a single form.
Yes.
So if we look at our square circle example, while there are enough visual cues here for us to understand the distinction between the two shapes, someone who has never seen a square or a circle in their lives could ostensibly interpret the two shapes very differently, as we see here. Another way to think about this is to view each line as a road, and all those lines being equal, wherever they meet, we get an intersection that allows cars to move from one to another as they wish. This is not what we want. If the viewer's eyes can move around and interpret the shapes and forms we're constructing in a variety of ways, that could certainly be interesting for a fine art piece. But for the purposes of visual communication, we want to be able to control how the viewer processes what we've drawn. So, instead of creating 4-way intersections wherever the lines meet, we instead want to create the impression that these roads pass over or below one another, so that while they do cross, traffic is still restricted to flowing in a very specific fashion. For city planners, they might employ an overpass to lift one road over the other. Here, by giving one line a thicker weight where they cross, the viewer is less inclined to go off-route, but will instead have more reason to stick with the line they're already following. This does not mean that we have to make the entirety of one line thicker. So for example, if we wanted to make the square read as though it were in front of the circle, we would not need to make the entire square uniformly thick. Instead, we can increase the thickness of our stroke as it approaches the intersection, making it gradually get thicker and then thin out again. This can be tricky to do, but it gets easier with practice, especially as you get used to employing the ghosting method and the confident execution it insists upon. It does help, however, that we're not adding it to the whole
Ooh, you can get the fur. Sick, man.
Section.
Exciting.
Just be sure not to execute it from your wrist, which is more likely to cause you to go off track. And despite whatever fears you may have over making a mistake and ruining your drawing, always execute the stroke confidently. While we can't really use the start and end points from the ghosting method's planning phase here, since it would counteract the line weight itself, we can still go through the same steps to identify the nature of the mark we wish to make, rotate the page for a comfortable angle of approach, get familiar with the motion required to make it, and finally execute with confidence. This is more or less the same as how you'd be employing the ghosting method for any marks that don't have concrete start and end points, like ellipses.
Ooh, nice. Sounds good food, man.
But they have no bearing on what we actually learn from these exercises. The end result being perfect does not help you learn better or faster. But in focusing on that, you're more likely to slow down your execution, to make your marks more hesitantly, and to ultimately get a lot less out of it. And there you have it. How to employ line weight for your Drawabox homework.
Okay. Tuna, sardines, stuff like that, absolute killer breakfast, man. Just pull out a can of tuna, pull out a can of sardines, even two. Instant food, really good for you. A lot of good stuff in it, for me. Always helps me out in a pinch. Can of tuna, or can of sardines. Helps me out big time. Organic perspective.
Congratulations on getting this far. We're now at the last exercise. But unlike much of what we've done throughout this lesson, this is less of an exercise and more of an introduction to something we'll be tackling after lesson 1 in the 250 box challenge. If you find yourself struggling with this one, and you will, everyone does, keep in mind that this is expected. Don't do more than the quantity assigned on the lesson page for this exercise. You'll complete the work, submit your work for feedback from a third party, and when they give you the go-ahead to move forwards, you'll continue on to the 250 box challenge, and we'll continue to work on these concepts there. So, long story short, this one's hard, so don't be surprised when it is.
Yeah, Mediterranean.
And that applies to those of you who are looking at my saying this as a challenge.
I mean, look at this. We got pot of olives.
When I say that something is expected to be difficult,
cheese and
it's
chorizo.
because it is. And you'll only ever do yourself a disservice
We got a
by
bunch
not
of fruit.
heeding that warning and going in with unreasonable expectations. This exercise has us drawing a bunch of boxes rotated in entirely random and arbitrary orientations, arranged loosely along a path that swoops back and forth as it pushes farther away from the viewer. In this video, we're going to demonstrate the overview of how the exercise is done, but in a separate video after this, we'll talk about the approach we use to actually construct the boxes, which we call the Y method. We're separating that out into its own video because it will also be extremely relevant to the box challenge later.
Hey, dude.
Like the plotted and rough perspective box exercises, we're going to start out by drawing 3 frames on our page with a ruler.
Okay.
I've demonstrated this in the videos for those other exercises, so we'll skip over it this time and use this page I've prepared. With our frames drawn, we want to draw a line that swoops back and
daisy.
forth. When drawing...
Yeah, dude, baking bread is, fresh bread is sick. Bread is one of the best things on the planet, man. But, doing that every day, that's called being a baker. That's like a whole ass profession, you know what I mean? Super cool. If you've got the time to do it, and the desire to do it. Because fresh bread is freaking godly. It is freaking godly. None of this like Fallout New Vegas nuclear stuff, Bread isn't supposed to last like a week. Bread is supposed to be good. Fresh bread is good for like a day. You know what I mean? It's like eat day of. And now it's like radioactive, man. The amount of stuff bread's got in, so it stays kind of soft and whatever for like days and days. It's crazy. Do 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 do. We got some frames, okay.
This, think of it as though it's coming towards the viewer from far away, or receding from the viewer. Either will look fine. This will serve as the general path along which we'll be drawing boxes. A lot of boxes. This will be coming towards the viewer from far away, or receding from the viewer. Either will look fine. This will serve as the general path along which we'll be drawing boxes. A lot of boxes.
Oh, Faraday, dude.
For each box, and again, this is something we're going to elaborate on in its own video.
And Juan, hello, man.
Constructing a Y, each arm of which is an edge extending towards one of the box's 3 vanishing points. Though we don't need to worry just yet about where the specific vanishing point falls, or how long these arms are drawn. Just focus on keeping the arms of the Y separated by angles greater than 90 degrees, and think of the central point of the Y as being one corner of our box.
Is that the corner? So when it starts saying corners, right? It's like, are we talking about a corner that is you know, close to me, or because I have, like, I guess 2 ways of looking at this, right? It's like that's either like an edge. No, I guess I'll see when he keeps going.
From here, the focus becomes on adding more edges to build out the box, while always trying to keep the convergences between all of the lines of a given set consistent. So for example, if we look here, I've drawn 2 lines which converge to this vanishing point.
Yep.
If I want to add more lines to that set, meaning lines that also converge to the same point, I can do so by studying the 2 lines that are already there and trying to match their behavior. Even if that vanishing point is far, far away, we can still derive enough information to add more edges to the set by studying the lines already present on the page. This is key to what we're doing in this course, because a lot of the time the vanishing points are going to be way outside of the space in which you're drawing, way off the sheet, maybe way outside of your workspace. By focusing on what we have on the page, where we're drawing, we can avoid a lot of the inconvenience and additional mental resources required to keep referring to vanishing points way outside of that space.
Yeah, you gotta take care of your yeast for your bread, for real, man.
Since I'm covering this in a separate video, I'm not going to go into further detail here about how the boxes are constructed. I will note, however, that for the purposes of this exercise, specifically when being done as part of your Lesson 1 homework, you don't have to worry about drawing through the boxes as though we have X-ray vision. You can leave it at the edges that would be visible from the viewer's vantage point.
Thank you, that's so much simpler for me.
When doing this exercise in our warm-ups afterwards, however, and when drawing these kinds of boxes as part of the box challenge, we will be drawing through them.
No!
Basically, by not doing so here, it gives us a chance to make a bit of a comparison and hopefully better appreciate the value of drawing through our boxes and how it helps us better understand the way in which they exist in 3D space. With the first box drawn, keep adding more and keep them loosely clustered around our path. Those farther away should be smaller, those closer should be larger, and those really close should be exaggeratedly large to the point of getting cut off by the frame. You don't need to worry about maintaining cube proportions, but you'll probably find the exercise a little less difficult
Okay, enjoy your game,
if you
dude.
avoid stretching them out. Additionally, in terms of foreshortening, keeping them fairly shallow, meaning only giving them a little bit of convergence, not too much, but more than nothing, will help avoid inconsistency in the sense of scale. We really want the boxes to feel as though they're roughly the same general size in 3D space, despite the effects of perspective. Technically, if we were being completely accurate, those boxes closest to the viewer would be hit with the most dramatic foreshortening, and those farther away would be the shallowest. But you don't need to worry about that right now. You may want to play with this later when practicing this exercise in your warm-ups, but do not worry about it within the scope of your Lesson 1 homework.
He keeps talking about the warm-ups. What the hell are my warm-ups? You know, what am I doing for the warm-ups?
And that pretty much covers it. Draw a bunch of boxes, try not to make them wonky, but accept it when that is ultimately how they come out.
Okay. Yeah, driving exam is like it gives you so much freedom when you got the license. For real. Now I don't really drive much, you know, because the public transport where I am is like really, it's really cheap and really affordable and really extensive and really frequent. So it's like, and parking a car in a capital city is like kind of crazy, you know. So I don't have a what am I doing? I don't have a car at the moment, you know, but it's still just crazy useful to have the license, you know. For whenever I sort of might need it or whatever, you know. Oh, manual, good man, good man. That's driving a proper car, you know. When you're driving it manual. I'm trying to learn how to draw, dude. That's what I'm doing. But welcome. Welcome, man. Sonic K. Yeah, exactly. I'm the same, man. I'm in the capital of the capital on like one of the most major the major streets in the entire country. It would be absolutely insane for me to have a car. It would just be a huge expense, and I wouldn't use it much. But you know, it's useful to have because if I visit another country or occasionally to rent something, do you know what I mean? Because sometimes rent cars quite like affordably, you know. And sort of doing stuff like that. It just gives like more freedom. Yeah. That's the definition of freedom, you know? No, exactly, man. That's the definition of freedom. When you go, when you want to go, and you come back when you want to come back. That's your freedom, man. That is your freedom, man. Oh, thanks, Militar. Thanks for saying hey. I've had motorbikes before, you know. I've had motorbikes before. But honestly, Madrid with a push bike for cycling. It's not a safe city to cycle in. It is not fun. It's kind of all, it's like a matter of time before somebody hits you. Do you know what I mean? It's really, really quite dangerous. But I love riding them. So when I was in, when I was traveling around in August, I was cycling through the Netherlands, through Germany, through Belgium. I was like cycling through these countries, and it's just like so. They're set up in such an amazing way to like cycle and stuff really, really easily. But here in Spain, especially in Madrid, the infrastructure and the behaviors of people on the bikes, it's just, on the road, just in general, sorry, it's just not safe. And it really is just a matter of time before you get hit. That's what it becomes. It just becomes like, when will you get knocked off your bike? It's not if you get knocked off your bike, it's like, when will that happen? Which is not exactly a fun position to be in. But yeah, man, more star, you gotta wear the helmet, man. You gotta wear the helmet. You gotta wear the helmet. Dude, I go skateboarding with some of the craziest, metal dudes on the planet, and like, you gotta wear a helmet, man. It's not worth it. It's just like absolutely not worth it. Like, the most important thing we've got is our health. And that's our physical, that's our mental. Do you know what I mean? That's the most freaking important thing that we got. So it's like, you gotta take care of it. It's not worth it. It's not freaking worth it. It's that kind of tapering. I'm not tapering those, am I? Bruh, on a motorbike, that's crazy. Nah, dude. Nah. No way, man. No way. No frickin' way. Not worth it, man. Not worth it. I think the homework wants me to do 2 of these. It does. And then what's next, man? $250 challenge. Oh my god. Oh my freaking god. I want to read through the instructions though, because I'm kind of going really on guesswork. Yeah, there's loads of people with those like helmets around here with those like buddy ears and stuff on. Okay, so I kind of... Yeah, I know that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, but that's just what people are like when they're kids, That's like kid behavior, so it's sort of like... It's sort of whatever, But if you start getting to like... If you start getting to like, adult age... And you've got people carrying on like that, that's like bad news, It's like kid behavior is kid behavior, and it's like whatever, yeah. Yeah, when you're a kid, you just don't know what you're doing, man. You just got no frickin' idea. I mean, not that you become an adult and suddenly have all the answers, you know, but... Ooh, that one's rough. Okay, let's... What's it kind of want me to do? Kind of shade in one side. Let's see if we can get some more boxes we do. Boxes we can get more boxes on the next one. Let's have that be kind of crazy close. Yeah, man, your head base looks really cool. It looks good, man. Good job. Boxes. Boxes. Creating boxes. Boxes creating boxes. Taping, pattern, fur coating, sewing together. Fur in the base, lining the base. So is that like your big priority project at the moment? Dude, where you get that sewing machine from? That sounds sick. It sounds freaking sick. Oh, nice, nice, nice. Cool. Dude, of course all those things are like expensive when you start putting all those costs together, man. They can get crazy expensive. For real. Wow, no. Wow. Wow. It's always these alarms going off, man. I wonder what the stat is for how frequently these frickin' sirens go off. I wonder what it is, man. Yeah, man, dude, that sounds really sick. It's gonna be super hype to see the process, you know? No, yeah, everything adds up, man. Everything adds up. You gotta keep account of this stuff for real. Yeah, you gotta keep track of this stuff. I mean, like, dude, I'm trying to, like, because I've sort of changed a few things in my lifestyle, right? And I've kind of got a new budget for the month, you know? And I was like, oh, I better check that I'm sticking to the budget, you know? And I've nearly spent all this month's budget in, like, 2 weeks. I was like, uh-oh. It's okay. It's okay. It's just like it's not the plan, you know. So just got to adjust. I mean, to be fair, I did make quite a few purchases which were like $250 on food in a week. Yeah, that's quite a lot, man. At least that's a lot for me. Yeah, to my everything's kind of okay in perspective, to be honest, because one of the things I did spend a lot of money on this week was travel for the Christmas time. So that's really a more of a December expense than it is an October expense. Do you know what I mean? I spent 112 hours creating a lion head. And you should too. Dude, why is it gonna be like 4K for the water? What the hell, dude? That's a crazy amount of money. Why is that gonna be so much? That's crazy. Yeah, no, you're right. No. Ferret, you're right. You are right. You are totally right. Yeah, because otherwise you can... No, Ferret, you're totally right. You're absolutely correct. Oh, so you have to pay it like all at once. You have to pay all the... So you just do like an annual thing? Oh, the onion bits have been consumed by the isopods. I like the isopod updates. I very much enjoy the isopod updates. I like to know what they're up to. Wait. They don't love you like I love you. Wait. They don't love you like I love you. Perhaps wait. They don't love you like I love you. Yeah, it's always cool to, like, people really appreciate if you can make stuff. If you can make stuff or like print some work or something like that, it goes super appreciated by a lot of people. Try taking video essay real folks are not happy with the reflected surface of their plastic prison. Their plastic prison. Oh dude, it must be cold for you at the moment, no? I kind of forget about the concept of heating because I essentially never put the heating on, you know? But yeah, and like when I was in the UK or when I was in Korea, I used to have the heating on all the time, man. Like in winter. And winter becomes like crazy long. Yeah, you've got to be careful about like, you know, sleeping in different temperatures and stuff like that. If you got like heating on, or even if it's like the converse, and you've got like the AC blasting, it's not great for your like respiratory system and stuff like that. Warm and cozy. Hey Alpha man, live from Australia, no? I feel like my boxes aren't very creative. I feel like my boxes are all in the sort of same direction, you know? Trucker, there's always sirens in the background. There's always sirens in the background. You hang out here for more than 15 minutes and you're guaranteed to hear a siren. It's one of the special features, you know. Wait, you don't love me like I love you. Wait, they don't love you like I love you. Absolutely. Like I love you. It didn't feel particularly creative. 1 a.m., dude. You're gonna have to get yourself some little bit of sleep in soon, you know? Anybody else been drawing recently? Yeah, you gotta get your drawing in, man. We gotta draw every day, don't we? That's the aim, man. We gotta draw every single day. You gotta every day get the mind, the body, the skills. Gotta keep all that stuff in check, you know? Does writing numbers under official government forms count as drawings? Followed by a goofy YouTube emoji. I don't know, man. Does it? Does it? Becomes the question. That's what we really got in. These are the questions we got to answer, aren't they? These are the big questions, you know. Hello there. Yeah. Hello, hello, hello. We do be drawing today. We do be drawing. We do be practicing some perspective-y type things. Boop boop. All right, dude. We go in an hour, dude. These are drawings. They go. Sometimes it feels like I'm really battling things. These take a really long time. And other times, not so much. I think today I kind of want to get through this, and I want to see what's on the other side. You know, I want to see what the 250 box challenge is all about, and proceed to lose my mind. You know. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, oh wee oh wee oh. Alright guys, so I got 2 sheets of my, what did they even call this? They called this organic perspective. So organic. So freaking organic. Okay, let's see what the what we got next here. We've got the Y method. Okay, so this is what I was doing. Okay, well we'll listen to it. I wish they put these together, because I jump into the task, like sort of not knowing the video before or the video after. Whatever. We'll check this out all the same. The Y method. Why?
The
Why?
Y method is a very useful tool and exercise that can be very helpful
my
both
door.
in constructing boxes that are freely rotated in space, as well as to help us better understand the way in which vanishing points work and how they influence the forms we construct. It is a tool we'll be using a fair bit throughout this course. Earlier on at points like Lesson 1's Organic Perspective exercise, as well as the 250 box challenge that follows it, we'll be telling you to use this method specifically. In the future, however, you will likely find yourself coming back to it throughout this course and beyond. While a lot of students will describe it as being a technique that specifically works with three-point perspective, it makes more sense to describe it as a technique that is particularly useful when rotating boxes freely in 3D space, as opposed to the cases where the boxes align to the viewer's angle of sight in the ways that result in 1 and 2-point perspective. If you're unsure of what I mean by this, it's covered in the boxes lecture sections for Lesson 1. That doesn't mean you can't use it for the situations that call for 1 and 2-point perspective with some added considerations. But for our purposes here, we're going to focus on boxes with 3 concrete vanishing points, none of which will be at infinity. The Y in the Y method refers to the 3 edges that radiate out from the corner closest to the viewer. Each edge belongs to a different set of edges that are parallel to one another in 3D space. So in essence, what we're given here are 3 lines pointing to their own vanishing point. To avoid much in the way of distortion, it's best to try and keep the angles between the arms higher than 90 degrees. On top of this, you'll notice that while we don't know how long, wide, or deep our box is going to be yet, the edges also start enclosing the eventual planes that will make up our box. While we know that each of the Y's arms orient towards a vanishing point, what we don't know yet is where along that path the VP will actually sit. Some students will make the mistake of looking at this process as one of discovering a box whose vanishing points are already specifically defined, meaning that there's a clear right and wrong, but that is not the case. Rather, it's important that you look at the Y method as one of constructing a box that simply does not yet exist. The box does not have any specific proportions, nor does the box have a specific rate of foreshortening. These are things that we will decide as we work through drawing the remaining edges, but it is not something you can get wrong. The only thing you can get wrong here is whether or not our edges converge consistently towards their shared vanishing points, and those vanishing points will only be defined once we add a second edge to each set. As we draw the second edge, we have to consider whether we want it to converge with the first more rapidly or more gradually, which speaks to a concept known as foreshortening. Foreshortening is the term used to describe the visual cues that tell us just how much of the form's physical length exists in the unseen dimension of depth, which, as you know, a flat piece of paper cannot convey directly, and how much is actually measurable there on the page. When 2 edges converge together rapidly, meaning the distance between them is getting
Oh, I'm back.
this generally means that the object is very long.
I'm back. Don't worry, guys. No, I did not get swatted. There was a guy at my door, and I live on quite a high floor, right? And, you know, if I want to, there's usually like a doorman, right? But it's siesta time right now in Spain. So my doorman is taking his break, you know? So it's not electronically like locked. So somebody rings my bell and they're downstairs. It's not like in a lot of buildings where I can like press a button and let them come inside, you know? So if it's really early in the morning, or it's really late at night, or it's during siesta time, yeah? So it's super early or super late or in siesta time. Usually most things happen in these 2 blocks, right? And so the door will be open and they can just like come in. But if it happens in any of these 2 areas, and right now we're here, we're in siesta. If we're in any of those times, I gotta go all the way downstairs and open the door and whatever. It's fine. It's not like a big issue. But it does mean that opening the door becomes like a multi-minute job. You know what I mean? As opposed to just like whatever. I'm not complaining. It just is what it is. Alright. The why method
is a very useful tool and exercise that can be very helpful both in constructing boxes that are freely rotated in space, as well as to help us better understand the way in which vanishing
because now my audio cut out.
Points work and how they influence the forms we construct. It is a tool we'll be using a fair bit throughout this course. Earlier on at points like Lesson 1's Organic Perspective exercise, as well as the 250 box challenge that follows it, we'll be telling you to use this method specifically. In the future, however, you will likely find yourself coming back to it throughout this course and beyond. While a lot of students will describe it as being a technique that specifically works with three-point perspective, it makes more sense to describe it as a technique that is particularly useful when rotating boxes freely in 3D space, as opposed to the cases where the boxes align to the viewer's angle of sight in the ways that result in a 1- and 2-point perspective. If you're unsure of what I mean by this, it's covered in the boxes lecture sections for Lesson 1. That doesn't mean you can't use it for the situations that call for 1- and 2-point perspective with some added considerations. But for our purposes here, we're going to focus on boxes with 3 concrete vanishing points, none of which will be at infinity.
There we go.
The Y in the Y method refers to the 3 edges that radiate out from the corner closest to the viewer. Each edge belongs to a different set of edges that are parallel to one another in 3D space. So in essence, what we're given here are 3 lines pointing to their own vanishing point.
No, I do not have guests. I do not have guests. It was the doorman giving me that. So that's what it was. It wasn't guests. It was that arriving.
To avoid much in the way of distortion, it's best to try and keep the angles between the arms higher than 90 degrees. On top of this, you'll notice that while we don't know how long, wide, or deep our box
is it's laggy. Yet,
edges also start enclosing the eventual planes that will make up our box. While we know that each of the Y's arms orient towards a vanishing point, what we don't know yet is where along that path the VP will actually sit. Some students will make the mistake of looking at this process as one of discovering a box whose vanishing points are already specifically defined.
Oh no, I don't want to lag. I don't want the lagginess.
That is not the case. Rather, it's important that you look at the Y method as one of constructing a box that simply does not yet exist. The box does not have any specific proportions, nor does the box have a specific rate of foreshortening. These are things that we will decide as we work through drawing the remaining edges. But it is not something you can get wrong. The only thing you can get wrong here is whether or not our edges converge consistently towards their shared vanishing points. And those vanishing points will only be defined once we add a second edge to each set. As we draw the second edge, we have to consider whether we want it to converge with the first more rapidly or more gradually, which speaks to a concept known as foreshortening. Foreshortening is the term used to describe the visual cues that tell us just how much of the form's physical length exists in the unseen dimension of depth, which, as you know, a flat piece of paper cannot convey directly, and how much is actually measurable there on the page. When 2 edges converge together rapidly, meaning the distance between them is getting smaller very quickly, this generally means that the object is very large, like looking at the top of a skyscraper.
Yes.
Alternatively, it can mean the object is very close to the viewer's eye.
Okay. Large or close to eye. High convergence. Okay.
Although this is something you'll run into less often. Conversely, when our edges converge very gradually, it tells us the opposite, that the object is either quite small, and so the effects of perspective don't impact the farther end much more than the closer end.
Effects far and a lot more. Cool. Cool.
Or that the object we're talking about is far away. As such, anything at a considerable distance is going to flatten out.
Okay. So. Got it. You're back. You've returned. So, gradual convergence. Well, that's like converging there, right? Yeah, okay, so if I'm thinking just like kind of that. Yeah, as opposed to right. Hi. Hello. Okie doke.
Foreshortening also has a direct relationship with how far away our vanishing points are positioned on the page from the object we're drawing. The closer the vanishing point, the more rapid the convergence. The farther the vanishing point, the more gradual the convergence. So while you're drawing a box using the Y method, purposely pushing the vanishing point farther away or bringing it very close will allow you to control the rate of foreshortening more intentionally. Another point to consider, and this is something we do using the Y method,
yeah, because the vanishing points are like here. When here, they're like here. Okay. Yeah, Jerry, I'm probably gonna, because I want to get like really deep into it, I'm probably gonna start, like closer to the weekend, like maybe like Thursday or Friday, because I want to like be able to like sit down for like a really long period of time. Do you know what I mean? Like I'll probably be playing it in like 5 hour, 6 hour chunks. So I think I'm probably when we get to sort of like Thursday, Friday, like closer to the weekend, I'm gonna dive into it, because I don't really want to like for example today, I'd probably only be able to like play for like 2 hours or something. Do you know what I mean? And I don't really want to like pick up and play it. I want to go like deep. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna wait a little bit closer to the weekend when I can have some like big ass length of time to really get into Silent Hill. But I'm crazy excited, man. I'm crazy excited, and I'm you know I these games are like a big deal to me. And Silent Hill 2 is one of the best ones. So yeah, probably closer to the weekend when I can like really get in depth to it. Do you know what I mean? Because I think I'd enjoy it a lot more playing it like that. If that makes sense. But yeah, I'm very excited, Jerry. And hopefully, we're gonna with my shape ability. I don't know if you can see the dude because of the camera. You can't. He's very blurry, but little pyramid head is there. So hopefully, with the power of shapes, I can just sit and draw little pyramid heads. Well, red pyramid thing is really his name.
Purposely pushing the vanishing point farther away or bringing it very close will allow you to control the rate of foreshortening more intentionally. Another point to consider, and this is something we'd have thought about when drawing the Y's initial arms as well, is how we want our box to be rotated, as rotation will result in a given edge's length existing more or less in the unseen dimension of depth as it turns. At the end of the day, if you don't specifically need to draw a box with a particular orientation, particular proportions, or a particular rate of foreshortening, you don't need to worry about these things beyond drawing the second edge of each set so it converges towards the first.
Let's try that, man. Oh, hello, Johnson. Hello, dude. Hello.
As it moves farther away from the viewer in space. With two edges defined for each set, here's where right and wrong starts coming into play. And again, it's only about convergence. As we draw each subsequent edge, keep doing your best to get them to converge consistently with the others in its set. You will make mistakes, and once we get into the 250 box challenge, we'll talk about how we can analyze our results to identify where those mistakes were and adjust our approach to improve. That's where this tool becomes a very effective exercise, helping us to better gauge our convergences so that when we need to add more edges to a construction, we can do so by referencing the other edges of that set already present on the page rather than always referring back to the vanishing point. While mistakes are inevitable, especially as we have to factor in the convergences while also ensuring that our different edges meet at their shared corners.
Okay, I think I'm getting there. These feels better. These feel better.
The ghosting method, which we should be using for each and every free-handed mark we draw throughout this course, starts with a planning phase where we plot out the start and end points of the lines we wish to execute. Normally we place those points, then goes through the motion, and finally execute with a confident stroke. But those points can be useful in other ways because of how they have such a tiny, potentially negligible footprint on the page. So, as you see me doing here, we can put down a tentative point for where an edge is going to end, then consider an edge from a different set that shares that corner and plot out an endpoint for it as well. This gives us two distinct points from which we would need to form a single corner. Depending on the situation, we might lean towards one rather than the other, or we may plot a third point creating an average of the two. And finally, we draw both our edges connecting to whichever point we decided on as our corner. This won't make your boxes perfect, but it will shrink the margin of error. That kind of intentional planning and consideration of the problem in front of you is what will make your practice more effective. And in combination with mileage and iteration, your margins of error will eventually become imperceptible. And that about covers it. To summarize, the Y method focuses on defining one edge from all three sets that make up our eventual box, and having them all radiate from a corner that is closest to the viewer. We add additional edges as we go, focusing on trying to get them to converge with one another consistently. And it's how rapidly or gradually the sets of edges converges that tells us how much of their lengths exist in the unseen dimension of depth versus what can be measured directly. And while mistakes are an inevitable part of the learning process, by leveraging tools like the ghosting method's planning phases and taking our time with each and every step, we will get the most out of the exercise and improve more efficiently over time. If there's one last thing to mention here, it's that there is no such thing as being too slow with this. I get that question a lot. Students express concern that they're simply going too slowly. There is no such thing. We are learning the underpinnings of all that will help us depict three-dimensional worlds on a flat page. And so it's important that we give ourselves the time to do so patiently, carefully, and without unreasonable expectations of speed and pacing.
Way better. Way better. Way better. Oh, you're drawing some stuff too. That's dope, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh man, I'm gonna dive into this. Whether I'm gonna like start that right now, I just want to at least kind of see what's being said, you know? Cream cheese. Cream cheese. Oh, here come the boxes, okay.
Congratulations. If you've made it this far, that means that you've gone through all of Lesson 0, which goes over what this course is about and how it should be used, and Lesson 1, which explores the basics of mark making, ellipses, and perspective, and that you've done so on the website, page by page, going through the written material and watching the videos as they come up.
Mostly.
It also means that you've completed all of your Lesson 1 homework to put the concepts from the lectures into practice and establish some practical understanding, which will be further developed by continuing in your warm-ups, and have received feedback on it through either our free community feedback options or our paid official critique program.
I should probably do that. I haven't been doing any
of
the
the course
feedback
that
stuff.
gave it its name, the 250 box challenge. The challenge, which we'll explain the gist of in this video and expand upon in the next few, is very daunting for beginners, and understandably so. Those of you who are more familiar with the nature of assignments given in art school will probably find it to be less daunting, but regardless, drawing 250 boxes right out the gate is a lot. It's one of the things we get a lot of criticism for in terms of dumping students in the deep end of the pool, but I assure you, it serves an important purpose. It is also very important that you remember that this course as a whole and all it asks must be balanced out with drawing done for the sake of drawing. That is, our glorious 50% rule. If you've been following...
I've been slacking on that. I need to count up the hours of the past couple streams because if we're being real, I didn't do any there. I think I did some here. Oh my god, we're doing the stream within the stream. Oh, I did do it here. I did do it here. Okay, so I owe... in terms of like drawing time owed, so I'm kind of like you, Jerry. I kind of need to be doing a little bit of catch up because I agreed to the 50% of just drawing for pleasure, you know, just drawing for drawing's sake, and the 50% Drawabox. So that 2.5 hour stream I didn't do any for, and so far this is 1.5. So I owe 4 hours of drawing. I owe 4 hours of drawing. and then whatever today turns out to be. So I need to pay that back.
As you should be. You'll have a fair bit of drawing for the hell of it under your belt.
I need to pay that back.
When we start out, the 50% rule can be really harrowing and torturous. And we are constantly faced with our limitations, with the unreasonableness of our own expectations. But with time, those fears fade into the back of our minds and give way to the ability to relax a little, to draw without needing to turn out well, to stop thinking in terms of what you can and cannot do, to be like the Joker in The Dark Knight and simply chase cars, unconcerned with what you do if you ever actually caught one.
Bruh.
That's going to be important in getting through this challenge, so I hope you've kept to the rule. If you haven't, you may want to take some time to balance those scales before moving forward. So, what is the 250 box challenge? Well, it's a lot more than just drawing.
Yeah, Jerry, I owe 4 hours because what I've been doing every stream is I've been doing the first half of the stream is I do these studies, and then the second half of the stream I just get a piece of paper and I draw. Now the last stream I did was 2.5 hours and I didn't do anything but Drawabox. So I owe 2.5 hours from that last stream, and I owe so far 1.5 hours from this stream. So I owe 4 hours of drawing. I'm taking this seriously. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm taking it seriously.
Para una piel más lisa y firme, descubre la innovación Hyaluron Active B3. Su fórmula exclusiva con...
We draw 250 freely and randomly rotated boxes, meaning not aligned to any particular direction, so no infinite vanishing points, all the while estimating the convergences of our edges to the best of our ability. We combine this with checking our work with analytical strategies to identify where our approach can be adjusted and improved. Some might consider this grinding, but by our definition, it is not. Grinding is what occurs when we perform a repetitive task and rely on our own judgment to decide whether or not we are finished. This challenge has a specific finish line, a quantity associated with it, and whether or not we've done it correctly is determined by the third party that gives us our feedback. It is only grinding when we ourselves have the freedom to come back around and say, no, I can do this better. This feeds into a cycle of aimless repetition, driven not by the experience.
Hey,
or
Rewrite,
the
thanks for
understanding
joining
of
us.
someone who already knows what should be given priority and what may not be really as critical as it can seem to a beginner, but rather how we feel about ourselves and about our work. A beginner's greatest enemy is their own expectations of what they should be able to achieve at any given point, which is entirely divorced from the reality of what is reasonable. After all, why would a beginner already be armed with that understanding? Getting back on track, let's take a moment to discuss why we're subjecting ourselves to a challenge like this. In applying strategies like the Y method from organic perspective and the line extensions from rough perspective, we will gradually develop our intuitive understanding of 3D space in a variety of areas. That isn't to say that we're going to come out the other side having mastered this skill. It's only 250 boxes after all, and is a drop in the bucket compared to everything else you'll be doing across your studies. But you can think of it as a sort of strategic boot camp.
Oh, cool. That's nice
going
to
kick
if you say
forward by
hi.
some measure,
Trying to learn
and
drawing
help
here.
set you up for what we face next.
Fraxing loads of
The
boxes and
biggest
stuff.
among the areas this exercise works upon, and the core goal of the exercise as a whole, is to develop our ability to judge convergences. That is, given a set of edges that are parallel in 3D space, and therefore converging when drawn on a flat page as lines, we want to be able to intuitively understand how to add more lines to that set such that they all converge consistently. In 3D space, that means adding more edges that are parallel, and in the 2D space of the page, it means adding lines that converge as closely as we can manage to the same vanishing point of those lines that are already present.
Oh, you're a painted fox. Okay.
Other notable impacts the box challenge is designed to have is to demonstrate how every complex task is ultimately a series of simple tasks. The challenge is made up of 250 individual boxes. Each box is made up of 12 edges, and each line we draw has us working through 3 phases of the ghosting method. In working through this challenge, we will show ourselves the seemingly insurmountable
So we're doing 250 boxes, and each box He has 12 sides. As you said, right?
Each box is made up of 12 edges, and each line we draw has us working through 3 phases of the ghosting method. In working through this challenge, we will show ourselves that the seemingly insurmountable can be overcome. And through that very demonstration, we develop the discipline to see it through. Not by rushing, not by altering the nature of the task, but by chipping away at it bit by bit.
So that's 9,000,
Everyone
right?
works at a different pace. Some people will be able to squeeze in 10 boxes a day and get it done in a little under a month.
That's 9,000
But some have
steps.
families, children, responsibilities, a full-time job, and can only do a single box per day. It makes no difference, and it does not matter how long it all takes. What matters is that it can be done one step at a time.
Okay, guys, what's the aim? What do you think? How many boxes do you think I should be aiming to do a day? Like, what do we think we can do here? What do we think's reasonable? Or do I do like my first session and kind of see how that plays out and make a judgment call from there? But when he says like 10 boxes a day, like I immediately start thinking like, nah, I want to do like 15, I want to do 20. You know what I mean? Like, what's frickin' reasonable? What is frickin' reasonable? Congratulate. I'm trying to see what his first box is 6 months ago, so I drew the next 6 boxes today. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious what's going to be kind of like a reasonable
And that you
pace.
have it in you to do the best of your current ability, which is both the most and the least we can ask of you. Continuing on, it's important that you remember that this is an exercise. The focus is not on drawing good boxes. That is a side effect. For example, it is very common for students to get so hung up on whether or not the back corner of their box is positioned correctly that they hyper-focus on it. The back corner is a distraction, a red herring. It does not control the outcome, it is the outcome. If you recall from Lesson 1's plotted perspective exercise, we would frequently end up with back edges that would not run perfectly vertically, but rather slant in one way or another when we drew it by connecting the back 2 corners. This was the result of all the little discrepancies that built up over time. Every slight misalignment or barely incorrect positioning of the ruler when plotting back to the vanishing points, things you might not even be able to see with your naked eye, will cause tiny errors to accumulate, and we'd only really see their result in that back edge. It's the same thing here. Every little misalignment in our estimation of each line's orientation, every mistake in getting them to converge consistently to the vanishing point all those lines of a given set share, the more our back corners going to come out wonky. In order to direct our attention away from distractions like the back corner and focus entirely on the source of these issues, we leverage line extensions, very much like those introduced in the rough perspective exercise.
Okay.
There we only had one concrete vanishing point to deal with, and so we extended each of those lines back in space to see how our lines were behaving relative to the one vanishing point we'd marked out. This would help us to see where we tended to make mistakes so we could reflect upon what might be causing them, what we should be taking into consideration in our approach, and applying those adjustments in our next set, gradually improving with every attempt. There are a few differences here, but the premise is the same. We now have 3 concrete vanishing points for each box,
Whoa.
so we're extending 3 full sets of lines. For the bulk of the challenge, we also won't have explicit vanishing points marked on the page. So instead of gauging how close or far we are from the
Let me
center,
just, for example, like I kind of think this one's sort of chill. So like, Oh. Oh, he says. Yes, it should be like 4 lines meeting each time. Oofed. No, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. It should be. No, I said not Silent Hill. I said I don't want to play Silent Hill today because when I play it, I want to play it for like quite a long period of time. And later today, I'm only gonna have like like a couple of hours or whatever. So I wanna leave this for like later in the week when I have like a lot more time, like closer to the weekend, so I can go like full immersion, So I just said not Silent Hill, so specifically. Okay, that's a vibe. Dude, that's a vibe. Yeah, and then you forget about that, right? And then over here. Okay, that's okay. That's alright. So forget about this. It is the remake one. It's the remake that just came out. That's kind of chill. What's he going to say about that?
We'll be looking more at whether our lines tend to converge consistently towards the same arbitrary point, or if they tend to be more scattered. We've talked about what this exercise is for, and some things to keep in mind.
That's
As
really
for the
small
assignment
there.
itself, I'll give you a brief overview here, but we're going to be going into more detail on how the task should be approached in the next couple of videos.
Okay.
As a whole, we're drawing 250 boxes, keeping to about 5 or 6 to a page, assuming we're working on standard A4 or 8.5 inch by 11 inch printer paper, as recommended in lesson 0, to ensure that they're drawn at a big enough size. The exercise itself, however, is going to be divided into 3 sections. The first 50, the next 50, and the remaining 150. The first 50 will have us plotting our vanishing points directly on the page and ghosting back to them, similarly to the rough perspective exercise. This is to get us accustomed to the general mechanics of what we're doing in this exercise and ensuring that we start out on the right foot, focusing on the convergence of our lines, which can become a little easier to forget about as those vanishing points are pushed farther away. The next 50 will force our vanishing points much farther off the page, which also means we won't be able to plot them out, but rather we'll have to estimate where they are by looking at the other lines we have drawn thus far and examining how they behave. This is more similar to what we were doing in the organic perspective exercise. And finally, the last 150 boxes we draw will be a mixture of those with vanishing points close up to the box itself to give us dramatic foreshortening, as well as those with vanishing points very far away to give us shallower foreshortening. We will not be drawing the vanishing points on the page for any of these, so we're still going to have to estimate our line's orientations based on those that are already present. That's just a basic overview. You're still absolutely going to need to go through the next video, which gets into more detail about how we will be tackling the first 50 before you start out on your work. As with all of our videos, as well as our written material, it is important that you watch and read them carefully, take notes as needed, and expect to go through them now and again as you continue the challenge. After all, you would not want to find that you completed all 250 boxes only to discover that instructions that were laid out here were ignored or skipped. It happens more than you'd expect.
Okay, so we're thinking like that's gonna be like 46 pages. So if I'm in a perspective, if I'm sort of doing like, I don't know, 2 pages a stream, minimum, right? Then that's gonna take me, that would take me like 3 weeks. If I do like 2 pages a stream minimum, then I'll be able to get that done in about 3 weeks. Which will put me like, which is about when the marathon is. The marathon's in like 3 weeks. So I think we're gonna like go crazy ass locked in mode for the next 3 weeks of like the final stretch of the marathon training. Plus I think I can get that done. 5 to 6 per page. We do about 2 pages a stream. We stream basically every day. We get the 250 box challenge done in about 3 weeks. Cool. Hype. That I think it's gonna be absolutely crazy. I think it's gonna be crazy, but the idea of a challenge is enticing. Today we've gone for about an hour and a half. So yeah, so I owe 4 hours of drawing. Plus I need to match whatever I spend doing the boxes with additional drawing. Okay. I don't think these are the greatest things ever, which I produced today. But again, I feel like progress is being made, at least from the very least of just like showing up and taking part. And this sort of plan of where we're going is getting me kind of excited. And I'm also hyped to have this in my hands so I can play this later in the week. So everything's looking up. Everything's looking good. Everything's looking good. Direction, man. I love direction. I love like kind of knowing what sort of way we're going in. Yeah, of course, Farrah. If things get like too crazy, I'll rest. And honestly, these next few weeks, the massive priority is going to be the marathon, right? So if there's things like this which are, you know, providing extra levels of like exhaustion or stuff like that, in respect to like the marathon or whatever, things like these will be the first things to be you know, sort of reduced from the schedule. But thanks, man. You always chime in with those good little messages of like looking out for your mental health and stuff. Because I know I can always seem like quite like headstrong and like let's do the thing and pretty like goal orientated. Hey, Fireheart, I hope you're feeling a bit better today, man. So I do appreciate you kind of saying those things. But yeah, we did some stuff today. We've got some direction. I'm going to put some of this stuff on post-it notes, which I have like surrounding me because I have like sort of visual representations of some of my goals around me so I can like see them and like, you know, keep on top of them. So I'm going to add that stuff in, make it present in my world around me. I'm going to head off for a bit. I'm going to go do some stuff and then I'm probably going to hop on a little bit later just for a short little Fallout session where I need to go get some armor because those death claws were kicking my ass. So I think I actually need to go buy some equipment and stuff. But again, guys, thank you. You guys do not, I know I say this every time, and I hope you hear it when I say it every time. I don't think you guys realize how much you help motivate me. Yeah, dude, I'm gonna jump off. I don't think you guys realize how much you sort of motivate me and you help me with you know, staying accountable and keeping this entire process like fun and not just me doing it in a vacuum. You guys are like huge for that. I super appreciate it. So thank you. We're on day 14. We've been doing this for 2 weeks now. We've been drawing every day for 2 weeks now. Go to sleep. No, it's daytime here. It's not nighttime here. It's daytime here. Yeah, no, thank you, Mostar. It's cool to you to come hang out and tell us about where you're up to in your projects, etc. But yeah, I'm gonna go do a couple of things, get myself organized, and then yeah, the plan is to pop on for a small little Fallout session a little bit later. So maybe I'll see some of you there. But the rest of you, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'm sure at this point, you know where to find me if you wanna hang out again. Yeah, you know, there's the Twitter, there's the Discord, all these other places. But I'm sure you'll probably see me hop onto a stream in your direction sometime soon. So, bye bye everybody, and take care. Oh, you'll watch it when you're done with Fallout. Okay, cool. Okay, makes sense, more stuff. So maybe you'll join us for like Silent Hill later in the week. Sick. Okie doke, guys. Bye bye everybody, and peace out. Peace out.